1. About 5 years ago, I lived in a small one-bedroom house with one of my closest friends. We chose the one-bedroom option because it was all we could afford. I slept on the sofa in the living room while my buddy took the bedroom. This eerie incident happened in the fall when the weather started to cool down. One weekend, my friend left to visit his sister, leaving me alone at home. I decided to enjoy the solitude and stay up late, catching a movie in our tiny house. I was engrossed in the film when I heard a quiet thump from down the hallway. At first, I brushed it off as the house settling, but it kept me on edge. After finishing the movie and getting ready for bed, I woke up in the middle of the night with a strange feeling. My eyes felt heavy, and my vision was blurry. Suddenly, I heard a faint sound, like someone cautiously moving around on the floorboards in another part of the house. My heart raced as I ventured down the hallway to investigate. The creaking sound stopped as soon as I reached my friend's bedroom door. I leaned against it, straining to hear any movement, but all was silent. I cautiously opened the door and found his room in disarray, with things scattered everywhere. Confused and uneasy, I returned to my room, trying to ignore my instincts. The next morning, my neighbor called to inquire if everything was okay the previous night. He revealed that he had seen a man wandering outside my house, and the man disappeared 2 hours later. It sent shivers down my spine, confirming my suspicions. I should have listened to my gut feelings. I called the police, but they couldn't find any clues about the intruder. It turned out the man had broken in while I was out buying groceries, prompting us to leave the house in fear of encountering him again. 2. This chilling tale takes us back more than 7 years, when I lived in a house with a balcony attached to my mom's room and mine. The balcony had big glass doors that faced the street, and 2 trees stood beside it. As a curious 12-year-old, I frequently climbed up and down from that balcony. One night, while reading in bed with dim lighting, I heard a noise like something shuffling in one of the trees outside. Initially, I dismissed it, thinking it might be a common occurrence with possums or bats. However, my curtains allowed some street lamp light to filter through, revealing a shadow passing by the glass doors. I turned off my reading light and froze, realizing that this was no ordinary shadow. It was tall, eliminating the possibility of it being one of the neighborhood kids I usually hung out with. The person moved stealthily, as if trying to avoid detection. I was paralyzed, watching his silhouette disappear from my view. But the story takes a terrifying turn when I heard a creaking noise, the sound of someone attempting to open the glass door to the balcony. Panic set in as I questioned whether I had locked it. Swiftly and silently, I locked my bedroom door and strained my ears to listen. The intruder continued to mess with the glass door handle, but it remained locked. A wave of relief washed over me. However, my relief was short-lived, as the intruder started pacing back and forth along the balcony, heading toward my set of glass doors. I hid, hoping he couldn't see me, and watched as he reached for my door handle. My heart skipped a beat, and I questioned whether I had locked those doors myself. Just as he tried to open the door, it remained shut. It was locked, and I breathed a sigh of relief. The intruder then began pacing back and forth on the balcony, and my parrot started making alarmed noises. I was alone, unable to call for help, and tears streamed down my face. The intruder's chilling words sent shivers down my spine. I could just break the glass, you know. Suddenly, car headlights illuminated my street as my mom arrived home. The intruder disappeared from view, and I heard a thud as he jumped off the balcony. I told my mom what had happened, and she called the police. They never caught the intruder, but a neighbor reported a suspicious truck that matched the description of a vehicle linked to attempted child abductions nearby. It was a harrowing night, and I was grateful to have escaped unharmed. Three. A few days back, something unsettling occurred in our new town on the East Coast. We had moved there about a year ago to be closer to family, with my aunt and cousins just a 10-minute stroll away. While we enjoyed the proximity to family, our new home was situated in a somewhat rural area, despite being just 15 minutes from a bustling city. On this particular day, I was walking my two little dogs back from my aunt's house, where I spent most of my day to avoid being home alone, as my mom preferred. The weather was cold, but remarkably calm and beautiful. Upon returning home, I fed my dogs, two birds, and had a video call with a friend. As I chatted and did some chores, I heard my parrot making unusual noises. She had been a part of our family for 25 years, and her sounds were familiar to me. This time, her noises indicated alarm or intrigue. I thought it might have been her seeing her reflection in the window, and didn't pay much attention. However, when my friend urgently instructed me to go back to my room, I checked my camera view and saw a chilling sight. There was a middle-aged man in a gray pullover and dark pants, grinning with his face and hands pressed against the glass door. My friend instructed me not to look at him. I rushed to lock myself and my dogs in my closet, all the while my parrot continuing to react. I switched to my native language, fearing the intruder could understand English. My friend called the police, while I contemplated the idea of running to my mom's room to find a gun, just in case. The intruder tapped on my window slowly and creepily, causing my dogs to bark. I was prepared to confront whatever was about to happen. Suddenly, I realized I had left the front door unlocked while taking out the trash earlier in the evening. The situation grew more dire as I anxiously waited for help. Thankfully, my neighbor's wife, who was dealing with severe nausea, went out on their deck, which had a view of my backyard. She sensed something was wrong and woke her husband, who promptly arrived at my house. My aunt and friend also rushed to the scene, and my friend called the police. The intruder disappeared just before the police arrived. Although they made an arrest, I remained deeply grateful to my perceptive neighbor, aunt, and friend for their swift actions that potentially saved my life. Four. Not too long ago, my family and I moved to a peaceful town on the East Coast to be closer to our relatives. Our new home was situated in a tranquil neighborhood, but we were only a short 15-minute drive away from a bustling city. The highlight of our move was the proximity to our aunt and cousins, who lived just a 10-minute walk from our home. One day, as I was walking my two beloved dogs back from my aunt's house, I relished the calm and unusually beautiful day. It was a rare occasion when I wasn't alone at home for most of the day, as my mom preferred. Upon arriving home, I tended to my dogs and two birds before engaging in a video call with a friend. As we chatted and I went about my chores, my parrot suddenly made strange noises. Having had her for 25 years, I was familiar with her various sounds. This time, her noises conveyed a sense of alarm or fascination. I brushed it off, thinking she might have seen her reflection in the window. However, My friend's urgent voice interrupted our conversation, instructing me to return to my room. Glancing at my camera view, I was horrified to see a middle-aged man in a gray pullover and dark pants, grinning with his face and hands pressed against my glass door. My friend warned me not to make eye contact. With trembling hands, I locked myself and my dogs in my closet, my parrot continuing to react anxiously. Fearing that the intruder could understand English, I switched to my native language as my friend called the police. The tapping on my window by the intruder intensified, and my dogs began barking ferociously. In my heightened state of panic, I realized that I had carelessly left the front door unlocked when I took out the trash earlier that evening. Desperate and helpless, I waited anxiously for help to arrive, convinced that my time was running out. Thankfully, my neighbor's wife, who was struggling with severe nausea, ventured onto their deck, which offered a clear view of my backyard. She sensed something amiss and awakened her husband, who hurried to my house. My aunt and friend also rushed to my side, and the police were called. The intruder vanished just before the police arrived, although they ultimately made an arrest. Despite the terrifying ordeal, I couldn't help but feel an overwhelming sense of gratitude toward my vigilant neighbor, my aunt, and my friend, who had acted swiftly to ensure my safety.